Hey guys, welcome back to the Bass Tutor. My name is Tyler Fry and I'm the Bass Tutor. So guys, today is the first video after the kayak tournament video that I posted the other day. And I wanted to do a quick breakdown and tell you a little bit about all the things that happened, what I think I could have done differently, and what I think I could have executed better on. You know, a lot of times as anglers, we learn from watching each other, and we learn from different mistakes that each other make. So with that being said, I wanted to make this video so not only could I look back on it and see what I could have done differently the next time, but so that you can watch it and make sure that you don't make the same mistakes. So with that being said, let's start getting into it. So going into the tournament, I had no preconceived notions of what was going to be happening. This is our home lake, okay? And the fact that it's our home lake and it has kicked my teeth down my throat more times than I can count, okay? I can't tell you how many times I've left this lake disappointed because of how difficult it is. It's deep, it's clear, and it's just hard to fish. But the thing that hurts it the most, without a doubt, is the fact that it's pressured so much. Me and Jordan were talking about it the other day and looking at it, and we come to the conclusion that there is 6 night tournaments a week on this lake, and then there's one on a Saturday morning. So, you know, that's a ton of fishing and pressure on a lake. Not only that, this is a very well-renowned party boat lake, okay? People come from Ohio, they come from Indiana, different parts of Kentucky, Tennessee. These people all come to our lake, and they love it because it's clear and you can swim in it, you know, and all this stuff. And you know, and I'm all about people being able to enjoy the lakes, but there comes a point, you know, where it gets to be a little bit too much. You get too many people on a smaller body of water. Now, this isn't a tiny body of water by any means, but you know, once you start getting a certain amount of boats, it gets tough, and it really kills the fishing for us anglers. So I knew going into this tournament, it's summertime at our home lake, and I knew it was going to be tough. You know, I knew it was going to be bad. So I wanted to go to a spot that I knew was holding fish, or had been. And so if you watched the tournament video, me and Jordan fished in the bass boat a couple, I believe it was a month ago or 2 months ago, you'll see the spot where all the shad were coming up. And me and Jordan sat on that spot for a long time and sat there and caught a lot of fish. Well, I knew going into this kayak tournament that the limit was 8 inches. And I knew me and Jordan caught a lot of shorts that day. I know, like, it seemed like there was a ton of fish that was under 15 inches that we caught, which is not really normal for this lake and hasn't been normal this year. There's been a ton of quality size fish caught. But with that being said, I knew that these fish had to be in that general area. So me and Jordan take off, and I go to my spot where I'm talking about, and I think it was about a 10 or 15 minute paddle, and he kept going on, and he went up to a creek. So I'm sitting here on this point that starts on this long stretch of bank, and I'm waiting on 6 o'clock. You'll see in the video it's 6 o'clock. I'm sitting on the right hand side of the point, and I was sitting on that side because the wind was crossing over the point like this, so I knew on the back side where that current break was that there would probably be a fish set up, and I would be able to run a swim bait or a topwater over top of them once the sun come up. So I started off with the jig, didn't have any luck with the jig, and I started noticing there was a tiny cut in the bank, almost like a small pocket, beside this point that run out, and it led up to another point. and I noticed that these fish kept busting in the back of it. Well, it was still dark, so I didn't know if this was carp, I didn't know if it was bass, I didn't know, you know, what it was. So I tied on my topwater lure and I started working down that stretch of bank. Well, about that time, a bass boat had just taken off from the tournament. You know, we were within seeing distance of another boat ramp. There was 2 boat ramps that you could see, you know, one was to the left and one was to the right. And he come from the opposite boat ramp from what we come from, because the tournament took out of there. And so he pulls up on the point there that I had planned to start off on, you know, completely fine. You know, he was in the right every bit of the way. I had pulled off the point and I was back there in the pocket messing around. But, you know, he pulled up to that spot and he sat there for, I would say, 2 hours. I would say a good 2 hours on this point in particular. And, you know, I wasn't mad or anything. You know, he didn't do anything wrong. But I was frustrated at myself because I got off of the point. You know, my plan was to stay on that point and then work that stretch of bank. And so I divvied away from my plan and it cost me. So I fished this area for a while, and finally the guy gets off of the point and he goes on around the bend to the stretch of bank that I wanted to fish. You know, where I initially wanted to start. I wanted to start the point, fish down the bank. So he starts fishing that. Well, about that time, Jordan had worked his way, I would say, you know, a couple miles from his spot, and was working his way back around to where I was at. And so I said, okay, let's go over here and I'm gonna fish this point. And then, you know, because the guy was off the point at this point. So we go over there, start fishing the point. Well, just as I had assumed, there was fish coming up and busting in shad like they had prior to the last tournament we fished. You know, the last tournament there was a ton of shad coming up and busting. Well, that guy had made his way on down through there a little bit, and you know, we watched him catch a couple fish out of the shad. So the number one thing that I did wrong in this tournament was I didn't stick to my plan. I got sidetracked. I started doing what I call chasing ghost. You know, when I say chasing ghost, I mean a shad, or not a shad, bass that come up and bust, but you don't see anything else. And you don't know if it's a bass, you don't know if it's a carp, a walleye, whatever the case is, you don't know what it is. And I call that chasing ghosts. If there's a bass and you see it chasing shad and you know it hits a few different times, I'm perfectly okay with chasing those. But it being dark and me being all excited, I was trying to go catch these fish that were just ghosts. And so that kind of costed me to lose my spot, because, you know, the old saying, move your feet, you lose your seat. Well, that's what I did. So with that being said, you know, I learned my lesson on that one. So anyway, so getting off of that spot kind of costed me some fish. That was the number one thing that I know that I could have done differently, and I probably would have caught fish, because if I was the first one on that spot, I know that I would have caught some fish. Now that stretch of bank right there is where I caught my 2 keepers that I caught. One fish I caught on a jig. You know, you see me cast over there to the bank and I'm dragging it down, and I got bit and I caught that fish. The next fish, I was fishing my jig and they come up and busted, so I fired my swim bait out there, and as it was sinking, I had a fish hit it and I caught it. And you know, that, if you haven't watched the video, go watch it. That was a mess, me trying to catch up to that fish. So anyway, that was the number one mistake that I made. Number 2 mistakes, I'll call them mistakes, because I lost 2 fish, and not entirely sure what I could have done differently, but I do know that I lost them. One fish that I lost in particular, I don't know that it would have helped me, but I was fishing a little shaky head. Got it. And I didn't show it in the video, I don't think, but I was reeling my shaky head back to the boat, and I see this little fish chase it out. It comes right at my shaky head. I drop slack in my line, it hits it, I reel down, set up, and all it had was the worm. So that costed me that fish. If this fish was big enough to keep, I mean, it was 8 1/4 inches if it was a keeper. You know, it was not a 10 or 12 or 15 inch fish. So didn't really upset me a lot, but not having a limit, it kind of frustrated me a little bit. Then the last fish I missed, it was basically a Hail Mary cast, and I'm not sure if it's in the video. Or, yeah, it's in the video, I believe. There's one. Was it really? Did you not see my line jump? Dude. Huh? No, I swear. I fired out my wobble head with my brush hog on it, and as it was sinking, one absolutely thumped it, and reeled down to try to set the hook, and it was gone. So that really hurt a lot. That one frustrated me because the way it bit, it just made it feel like it was a big one. And I didn't use scent on my bait. I always use scent on my bait, and so I'm gonna tell myself that that's what it was. I didn't have scent on the bait, so next time I'll make sure I use some JJ's Magic or some Spike It or something. But you know, that probably didn't make a big difference, but if it would have held on for just a second more, I would have been all right. So going into covering the tournament, you know, I really was pretty content with how it turned out. You know, I didn't have any fish jump off of the measuring board, which was great. You know, that was one thing I was concerned about. My goals going into the tournament was not lose any fish off the measuring board, catch a limit, which I'd come short of, disappointingly. But that was my goals going into the tournament. And then, of course, try to win. Always is try to win is always the goal. But so yeah, going into it, you know, I didn't lose any fish coming off the bump board or anything, which was good. So guys, with all that being said, you know, I've learned a lot of new things about kayak fishing, and I really enjoyed the format. It was a really cool thing to be able to release the fish upon catching them. You know, a lot of tournaments don't do that, and in doing that, you know, we hurt a lot of fish. And my whole life I've fished bass boat tournaments, and you know, we hurt them a lot. Whether we realize it or not, you know, it stresses them out or whatever, and a lot of fish die that way, and there's nothing we can really do about it. So I really like the photo catch release thing, and you know, I'm looking forward to fishing some more kayak events. I'm hoping next year we can really get into it big time and dive into it, but we'll just have to see where it goes, you know, with the corona and all that stuff. So with that being said, you know, I don't think there was a lot I could have done differently. Let's see, I believe there was only two of the, you know, two of the competitors that fished the tournament had limits, had 3 fish, and not being able to catch 3 8-inch fish is, you know, that's a tough day of fishing, guys. And let me check it right quick. There was only 2 people that had a limit, and there was 4 people that zeroed, and there was 6 people that just had 1 fish. So, you know, that just goes to show you the scale of how tough this tournament was. And, you know, it's no excuse, but, you know, I'm glad I was at least able to measure the 2 fish I had. I would have liked to have had a 3rd fish, but I really don't know that it would have put me in contention to win. I believe if I'd have had 1 more keeper fish, I would have been in 2nd place, because 2nd and 3rd tied. But with that being said, you know, 1st place was a little bit further to get to. If I'd have had a little bit better morning, maybe we could have done it. But we're not going to dwell on that. We're going to learn from it. We're going to go into the next one swinging, and I'm super pumped about it. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you haven't watched the kayak tournament video, go make sure to check it out. And I'm going to link Joe's channel down below, my good friend Jordan Elliott, and so you can go watch some of his videos. He should have some interesting content coming up. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys later.